The big highlight here in this news release, obviously, is a discovery of a new parallel vein zone that had been previously untested, 200 to 300 meters to the southwest of the main zone. This is, obviously further confirmation that we aimed to do with the first 5,000 meters of this drilling was to really expand this near surface footprint. And this discovery here did it in spectacular form. So very near surface, high grade, open in all directions.
Astra Exploration has reported significant high-grade silver and gold intercepts from the second batch of assays in its Phase 2 drill program at the La Manchuria project in Santa Cruz, Argentina. The results are highlighted by a major new discovery in the Basalto zone located 200 to 300 meters southwest of the known main zone. CEO Brian Miller is here to run us through these high-grade numbers and what it means. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. Please remember this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Brian, welcome back. And wow, those are some impressive grades there.
Thank you, Martin. Great to be back, especially under these circumstances.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. You're at PDAC right now. So we're getting you in between, in the midst of the show here, right?
Yeah, that's right. Just day two of PDAC here on Monday. Did the Metal Investor Forum Friday, Saturday. So about halfway through this.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess there's going to be a flurry of news releases this week. So CEOs have lots to talk about here at the show. So why don't you run us through a high level on the what the news says to bring everyone up to speed, and then we can dig into some things a bit.
Happy to. So the big highlight here in this news release, obviously, is a discovery of a new parallel vein zone that had been previously untested, 200 to 300 meters to the southwest of the main zone. This is, obviously further confirmation that we aimed to do with the first 5,000 meters of this drilling was to really expand this near surface footprint. And this discovery here did it in spectacular form. So very near surface, high grade, open in all directions. The big thing here is the expansion of that near surface footprint. And it's, as stated in the news release, it's very important too, as we're seeing here, what early indications are that these veins in the main zone are converging at depth, and that's around 170, 180 meters vertical depth right now. So that's very important. There's a number of reasons why this news release is quite exciting. First of all, the expansion of the main zone, vein convergence at depth. And we're seeing, some of these holes obviously had several intervals of grade in them. So while people might look at it and say, they're not screaming grades, it's pretty spectacular when you have a 200-meter length hole that you've got 7-8 intervals of a gram plus gold equivalent, and then several other sub intervals within that are, half a gram area. So it speaks to the fertility of the system. And I guess what would probably be best for the viewers, I'd like to go through some slides here. Yeah, these are actually some slides that I just used at the Metal Investor Forum to really talk about what we've been seeing in the system. We've talked about this before. The 10,000 meter program that we were doing, the design of that was the first 5,000 meters was to really demonstrate the near surface footprint being much larger than previously thought. So maximize the number of holes that we're able to drill with this. And then the follow-up 5,000 meters, which we're going to start here in late March, early April, we'll focus on some of these other targets, these deeper, and deeper is a relative term here because we're still talking about sub 200 meter depth. We'll focus on some of those deeper targets. It's noteworthy to mention here that we still have 12 holes pending from the first 5,000 meters.
Well, from the first 5,000 meter program, what was the average depth of the holes there?
Less than 200 meters. I think the average depth was probably close to 100 to 125 meters because some of those were very shallow. We're talking 50 meters from surface.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And so this is a slide that's actually in the corporate deck right now. And this is just a highlight of some of the M&A activity that occurred in the Deseado Massif during the last cycle. Some of the notable M&A, obviously Goldcorp taking out Andean Resources for the Cerro Negro deposit for $3.4 billion in 2010, and Yamana taking out Extori Gold 2 years later for $413 million. We do talk about Cerro Negro because there are several similarities between Cerro Negro and La Manchuria. And I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that we have Cerro Negro here. We don't know that we do, and we don't know that we don't. What I'm saying is that there are geological similarities between the two. There are differences as well, but there are also similarities in the evolution of the story. Both of them have near surface bulk disseminated systems. But what made Cerro Negro the special deposit that it is was they discovered these high grade feeder zones beneath the volcanics. And to walk through what I'm talking about, this is just a cartoon that shows the basic anatomy of an epithermal system. Obviously, they've all got their idiosyncratic differences. But a bulk disseminated system we're talking about is the top of the system. You've got all these narrow veinlets. They tend to be narrower toward the top, and there's a bunch of them. So you can open pit mine that, put it all together and mine it. When you get down deeper in the system, you start to see a convergence of veins, and they tend to be thicker structures. And then the holy grail of the system, which is what made Cerro Negro special, are these high-grade feeder zones. So it's very concentrated grades within a limited amount of rock, and that is, very economically important, especially if they're near surface. And this was the opportunity we've seen at La Manchuria from day one. This is the holy grail here. That's the main target. But you also have that bulk disseminated system near surface that we're demonstrating the size and growth of. And to take you to a picture here of the regional claim map, it's outlined in light blue. It's 5,600 hectares, but almost every single bit of drilling so far has been focused in that dark blue circle in the middle. There's just a tiny bit of it outside of that, and that's been the drilling that we've done. We've demonstrated that this system is open in the directions, these general areas in yellow here. And we've also seen evidence in the field. We believe there's potential to expand it into these areas in white. So we're literally just scratching the surface here. This whole thing is covered by these volcanics, quite similar to Cerro Negro. And we are demonstrating that the system is open and extends underneath these volcanics. So I want to take the viewers right now, kind of a step back in a time machine here. I'm going to go back to November 2024. So 1 month after we formalized the deal with La Manchuria, this is what we had. We had the main zone, which was the previous area of focus, and it had vein strike established. It was densely drilled. And the eastern zone had 5 holes in it, I think. There was no established vein strike. But we believed that the system was open along strike to the southeast, and additional expansion was uncertain. That was 350 meters vein strike in the main zone, nothing in the eastern zone, and about 550 meters in lateral width. Fast forward just a few months into February 2025, which was just before we started the first drill program last year, we had evidence that we'd seen in creating the model that this system was open along strike in both directions in both locations. Fast forward to following that first phase drill program, we had confirmation that this thing was open in all directions. And then come to today, this is where we're at now. We now have 4 parallel vein zones established, open in every direction, along strike, laterally, and perhaps more importantly, at depth. It was previously thought the system was constrained by a layer of rocks at a shallow depth. We've actually drilled through that layer in multiple drill holes and back into the good host rocks. So this system has blown wide open in every dimension. And the rocks that were previously unproductive andesites, we've actually drilled into some of those that have hosted very high grade. So we've also got a new productive rock unit. So this is turning into something pretty spectacular pretty quickly. The size footprint that we've established now, we're up to 1.2 kilometers in lateral width. We've got 750 meters of vein strike in the main zone, open in both directions. 200 meters established in the eastern zone. We don't have any strike established in the road zone yet because we just have 2 holes into it. And the same thing with the Basalto zone. So that just kind of takes everybody through. And to recap here, that's all in that dark blue circle in the center. You've got several kilometers in any direction for step out. This image here, real quick, I want to show. This is, I think, something that really kind of brings the point home when I talk about these high-grade feeder zones. That's a cross-section that cuts through all 4 of these parallel systems here. And what you see is in red, you have the veins, and blue, you have faults. And what you notice about those veins in the main zone, these are those 1 to 2 meter thick veins, and they they're obviously look like to be converging at depth, and that's about 180 meters depth, which is actually quite shallow. So we're very excited for this development.
Do you have any guess where that main feeder zone, how deep that could potentially be?
It's hard to say. Like, I mentioned in the news release, this is early data, but it's quite
Yeah.
compelling. If the veins continue on the dip and the trend that they are right now, it's looking like maybe 300 meters or so, in which is rather consistent for these types of feeder zones in this part of the world. But at the end of the day, we just don't know yet.
And you've got a bunch of drill results still pending to be released. Have any of those holes gone down deeper, or can you show us roughly where those holes are coming from, so to kind of expect what kind of data we'll get from them?
Yeah, I'll take a step back here, going back to this plan map. The deepest hole that we've drilled is to the southeast here. It's hole 139. You see it right to the end of that blue shaded area. And that one is I think, at about 250 meters vertical depth. That one's a bit of a wild card. Could have mineralization. It might not have mineralization. It is hosted in andesites, and that is the rock unit that I was talking about that previously was thought to be completely barren. But now we're finding some andesite units have grade in them and some don't. But that's the deepest hole that we've seen. And what's exciting about this, among many things, is that we're talking about the convergence of these vein systems, and we're talking about the west side of the main zone and the east side of the main zone, but this whole thing is opening up along strike. And so if you've got those convergent zones along a growing strike, that could be very significant.
And the mineralization and the actual gold in the or the ounces in the andesite. Does that indicate anything, or is that just, hey, there's some more potential economic value at a potential future date here for mining, or what does that tell us?
Number one, it tells us that we've got another rock unit that's quite productive. If you go back to the last news release that we put out, that headliner hole that was 3.1 meters that had 9 grams of gold and almost 1,300 grams of silver, that was hosted in an andesitic sill. And that was the first time we'd seen those spectacular grades in the andesite. So to have another productive host rock unit is quite compelling, because it was previously thought that the andesites were completely barren in this property. And it speaks to the fertility of the system.
Brian, the Basalto zone is a new discovery here. What does that, I guess, change to your model or your idea of what you have here? And maybe how is that going to change your exploration plan or strategy given this new discovery here?
Yeah, the Basalto zone is a new discovery. It's a parallel vein system to the southwest. I'll back up one slide right here. So this big kind of a blob you see on the west side of the slide here, that's a basalt flow from a volcano that's just off the map. And again, this speaks to in the beginning, we believe this was a much bigger system that extended under the volcanics. So what we're going to do, if you remember back in the last news release we had done an IP survey that was aimed at targeting these veins beneath the cover that worked really, really well. So we've actually got the geophysicist crews on the ground right now to extend that survey, and we're going to be extending that survey out over the basalts to the west and southwest, as well as to the north, because those basalts and the decomposed basalts do cover this area. So that'll just only add additional drill targets. Obviously, this Basalto zone is open in every direction along strike and to depth and laterally under the volcanics more. So it's just, at the end of the day, it's greatly increasing the footprint of the system.
You've completed the first 5,000 meters. You've got another 5,000 planned. Does this information you've received, does that change the next 5,000 meter drilling program at all? Or because you're going in a bit of a different area here for that, correct?
Correct. It is, as far as the targets intended for the next 5,000 meters of drilling, it is a dynamic process. Obviously we still have, 12 holes pending. So depending on what those come back as, that could very well dictate what we aim for follow-up targets. So we won't really know for sure until we get all of the results in. But as I said, we'll be looking to start the drilling in about a month. We should have the rest of the results in by then and the geophysics complete. We should be ready to go and be able to select the targets that we want. Obviously, we do have some priority targets at this point right now.
Will you be hitting the Basalto zone again with this in the next phase of the drill program?
I would expect to be, yes. But
Okay.
there again, it's, we have those holes pending. And if you get
Yeah.
some screamers out of that, then you might change course. I mean, that'd be a wonderful problem to have if the Basalto zone, something like that compelling of a target, took a side seat to something more exciting.
Brian, any last words as we wrap it up here?
Like I said, it's exciting. It's important for several reasons. And yeah, we're really pleased with how this is developing so far. It's fantastic.
All right, excellent. Brian, thanks for giving us the update here, and good luck at PDAC, and looking forward to seeing more drill results out of the project there.
As are we. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate being here again.